An organization known as Plan Kent, an organization of firemen, got together and started this whole thing.
We started out years ago because we knew something should be done in our world. We tried to do the best we could. We started out at the Kent firehouse, utilizing the parking lot.
We had no idea how long it would last or how many people would be attracted, but from the very beginning, it was a success. Starting a recycling center is not as difficult as it sounds. We started ours at the firehouse parking lot, so we had a space, and then we went to the highway garage, and we got a bunch of barrels, 55-gallon drums, and that's all we had to begin with. What else do you need? A couple of volunteers. I'd say maybe start with 6, maybe half a dozen volunteers at least. The fact that you have volunteers working is really what makes a recycling center work. And why do people keep recycling? Because they see that it's important and that they can make a contribution to the future of the planet.
Everybody enjoyed coming to the recycle center. They met their neighbors, they met people they didn't know, their friends, and we were all casual. Some were doctors, some were lawyers, some were firemen, some were garbage collectors. It was a community. It was like a community center.
There's our crude method of baling cardboard. It's amazing what great effort was made. A full bale. Holy mackerel. It was those guys, their initiative, their creativeness, that allowed us to keep going. One of the great things about a recycling center in our facility is we've always been blessed with an amazing number of good volunteers. Boy, we have had great fun and a great number of good people.
There's an innate drive in human beings to recycle. And if you provide them the opportunity, they will do it.
Baker made an arrangement with the help of Governor Pataki to set this center up as a 360 transfer station.
We were taking garbage from the very beginning. I mean, it doesn't make sense to recycle if you can't get rid of your garbage also at the same site.
Wilma had this big white van. It was packed at the end of the day from floor to ceiling.
This van that you see was sort of the place where everything was. If you needed a Band-Aid, if you needed change, if you needed whatever, that's where Wilma stacked all of the things.
Wilma was pushing cloth bags so that we don't use paper bags and plastic bags. We also took in glasses, which went to Rotary Club, batteries, of course. We had so many different categories, and Wilma kept track of everything. We had a free table, just a long table. People would bring in stuff that they didn't want anymore, and maybe somebody else might use it.
Amazing.
I love these pictures of the smaller children from then because they still come and they're all grown up now.
To save space, we would crush the cans. That was a grunt job.
I had started a local bulletin board, and I just pulled out from the penny saver each week the people that I thought might be useful to anybody who didn't live here all the time.
How labor intense that was. Holy moly.
See, we had tin cans, clear glass, green glass. It was all sorted. And they sorted it themselves. People felt responsible. They felt like they were doing something good. The wonderful thing about it is that it brought people together, and they got to know each other. Here was a gathering place, and you got to talk, and you could talk politics, you could talk about your streets, talk about your family, and you really felt like you were part of a community.
At the end of the day, the truck left. Now, everything is picked up and moved out of sight. One of the arrangements was that we couldn't have too much left in the parking lot.
We were kind of like an Arab encampment. You come in, you set up your tents, you have your activity. At the end of the day, we fold up our tents, and eventually there's no trace left of our being there.
We're seeing the end of the day on a Saturday. Our parking lot was so spotlessly clean. It's cleaner there than it is right now.
But our work was not done because we had to set everything up, operate, and take everything away.
The county had an aggregation site on Old Route 6. It was mostly newspapers and cardboard that we had to drop off first, and we would unload them one at a time. It was so primitive and it was so physical. It was so much work in those days.
It's hard to imagine how this was continued all the time and sustained. Well, some things never change. Look at him setting up these big boxes. The same as what we're using today. Only we couldn't do that here in our parking lot. In those days, we had no facility to handle them. We started out with some very small number right in this community here. When it got to, I believe, 150, the parking lot could not handle the traffic.
I mean, if we all produce waste and nothing but waste and nothing is recycled, people can see in the long run that that's not a good way to run a planet. And if you take the planet-wide view, you can see it better than if you take your personal view. Because personally, I get rid of something, it's gone, you know, that's it. But from a planetary standpoint, you can't get rid of anything. It's always there, and it's always going to cause you some kind of a problem unless you can figure out a way of recycling it. And that's what recycling is all about.
We are 9 billion people. Our country is over 300 million now. And the world it cannot be sustained under the current growth rate. People have good motivation, most, to do what's right. And therefore, it was a simple thing for us to grow.